No man can command the emotions of others until he has put a blade to his own. Before you learn to bend the feelings of your enemies, your allies, or your victims, you must burn away the chaos within yourself. Emotional control is not about suppression, it is domination. It is the act of taking every whisper of fear, every pulse of rage, every drop of affection, and bending it into a weapon of precision. The strategist does not feel less, he feels without interference. Where others are flooded by emotion, he becomes the dam that controls the current. This is the first law, because if you do not rule over your own fire, it will scorch every plan before it can take root. The majority of men are emotional slaves, walking torches who ignite everything they touch. They call it passion, honesty, or authenticity. But what it really is exposure. Vulnerability disguised as virtue. Their anger erupts too soon, their sadness leaks into their choices, and their love blinds them into trusting what should be interrogated. These men cannot be feared because they cannot be predicted. They are tossed from one state to another like leaves in a storm. They are already conquered, first by themselves, and then by those who know how to push the right button at the right time. The strategist, however, feels emotion rise and studies it. He sees his rage like a storm forming on the horizon. He does not run from it, nor does he release it blindly. He tightens it into a fist, holds it, inspects it. He asks, what is this anger for? What can it serve? What advantage does this reaction give me? And if the answer is nothing, he buries it. He will bleed before he reacts emotionally in front of others. His silence is a shield. His calm is a trap. While his enemies swing wildly under the influence of passion, he watches, calculates, and then strikes with terrifying clarity. To master your emotions is not to feel nothing. It is to feel everything and choose when, where, and how to show it. This is the edge most men never gain. They spend their lives as emotional beggars, asking others to understand them, validate them, soothe them. But the strategist is not here to be understood. He is here to bend the world into shape. He smiles when necessary. He sheds tears if it moves the crowd. He laughs when the mood demands it. But none of it leaks from within. All of it is chosen. All of it is war paint. You must examine every emotional response like a spy interrogating a traitor. Why are you angry? Why are you hurt? Why are you afraid? If you cannot answer with clarity, then you are not ready to wield power. Because power begins with self-control, not the fake kind taught by polite society, but the brutal self-conquest that leaves nothing hidden. When you know the roots of your rage, you cannot be baited. When you understand the source of your longing, you cannot be lured. When you no longer fear loss, you cannot be threatened. This is why the first battle is internal, because the man who loses it will lose everything else. Others will tell you to express your feelings, that it's healthy, that it's human. But understand this, the man who shows his full hand of emotion in a world built on dominance is not healing, he is surrendering. There is no nobility in being an open book in a room full of editors. If they can see what shakes you, they can break you. If they know what ignites you, they can burn you. Keep your fire deep. Let it fuel you, but never leak out of you. Let it warm your strategy, but never light your enemy's path. The world is watching, always. Let them see what you choose to show. Let them believe you are calm by nature, while beneath your skin, the fire obeys only you. The average man bleeds emotion freely, using it as a form of exchange, crying to be comforted, confessing to be understood, smiling to be accepted. He believes emotions are currency. If he gives his feelings, he will receive something of value in return. This illusion is his downfall. The strategist knows emotions are not currency. They are bait. To show emotion is to manipulate perception, not to relieve yourself of pressure. You do not express feelings to be known. You express them to be used. Power does not come from sincerity. Power comes from the appearance of sincerity. There is a profound difference. Sincerity binds you, it says, "This is who I am." But perception gives you freedom. It lets you mold the self that others want to believe in. The moment you attach your feelings to outcomes, you become predictable. Your joy, your rage, your affection, if unregulated, create patterns. And patterns create control points for others. But when you deploy emotion deliberately, like a fisherman casting a line, you gain control over the waters. You decide who bites. You decide what they feel. You become the author of their perception. A strategist does not cry because he is overwhelmed. He cries when his tears open doors. He does not laugh to release pressure. He laughs to invite trust. He does not rage in protest. He rages in performance. He knows every expression, every twitch, every pause in breath can either be a leak or a weapon. So he perfects the mask, not to hide but to hunt. Emotions become tools, each calibrated to pull a specific string in the hearts of others. The world is filled with people starving for emotional authenticity. They want to be moved, to feel something real. They crave vulnerability, not because they are noble, but because they want to feed off it. And so, when you appear vulnerable, you win their allegiance. When you show just enough anger, you earn their fear. When you flash controlled joy, you gain their admiration. The trick is never to be swept away by the emotion you portray. Feel it, but never be in it. Let the mask weep, but let the mind remain dry. A man who uses emotions as currency is always in debt. He gives and gives, hoping the world will return something of equal weight. But it never does, because in this world, feelings are consumed, not respected. Weakness is pitied, but never obeyed. Sadness is noticed, but never followed. People may comfort you, but they will not fear you. They may sympathize with your pain, but they will not hand you power. If you want to command, your emotions must become performance stagecraft, not soul spill. Control over emotion is not about becoming robotic. It is about becoming selectively human. You decide when to be warm and when to be ice, when to inspire connection and when to induce silence. The fool believes he must always be himself. The strategist knows the self is a costume, worn depending on the audience. Emotion is simply one of its richest fabrics. You must study others carefully to learn what moves them. Does sadness create guilt? Then offer it sparingly. Does confidence breed loyalty? Then radiate it like the sun. Is charm their weakness? Then smile. But none of it should cost you anything inside. The emotion you offer should be hollow of personal consequence. It should be an empty cup that looks full from a distance. Let them drink from it. Let them feel what you want them to feel. But never let them see that you never tasted it yourself. In every interaction, ask, what reaction serves my goal? Then display the emotion that triggers that reaction, not the one you feel, not the one you want to express, but the one that will bend the outcome. This is the difference between being seen and being obeyed, between being liked and being feared. The man who uses emotion as bait does not drown in feelings. He swims through them like a ghost, untouched, undetected, undeniable. In any room, the strongest voice is not always the loudest. It is the one that dictates the atmosphere. Mood is the unseen battlefield where influence is won or lost. Before thoughts are formed or words are exchanged, the emotional tone has already cast its shadow over the conversation. The strategist does not argue for logic alone. He alters the emotional weather around him. He can summon pressure like a thundercloud or ease tensions like a soft wind. By controlling the mood, he creates the frame through which others think, speak, and act. The decisions people make are rarely rational. They are emotional reactions to the atmosphere surrounding them. This is why the truly powerful do not just enter a room, they reshape it. Most men believe their emotions are private, internal states. They think fear can be hidden, confidence faked, calm pretended. But humans are animals long before they are thinkers. They respond to shifts in tone, posture, breath, energy. They can smell anxiety, feel dominance, detect tension in a moment's glance. The strategist knows this. He uses it. He carries stillness like a weapon. He tightens silence into a grip. His presence speaks before he does, because the mood he sets will determine the range of outcomes available to him. If you make a man afraid, his world narrows. He thinks only of escape. He looks for exits, not strategy. And in that panic, you make the decisions for him. If you create comfort, you invite trust, his guard lowers, and he shares more than he should. If you foster tension, he will seek relief, and you will be the only one who can provide it. The point is not to overpower through force, but to shape the terrain of interaction so that others have no choice but to move where you want them to. Emotional control begins with atmosphere. Mood is the leash around their thoughts. The crowd, the team, the family, they all take their emotional cues from whoever asserts the dominant tone. And that tone can be transmitted with or without words. You can slow your speech to build gravity. You can pause before answering to inject uncertainty. You can enter a chaotic space with total composure, and the chaos will recede. People crave equilibrium. If you offer it, even falsely, they will lean toward your energy. This is not about charisma. It is about emotional engineering. The untrained man absorbs the mood of the room. If people are tense, he grows nervous. If others are joyful, he smiles by reflex. But the strategist is not a sponge. He is a sculptor. He imposes mood. He chooses whether to radiate menace or serenity, passion or indifference. He knows how to shift the emotional current beneath the surface of logic, because people make decisions not when they are thinking clearly, but when they are emotionally primed. To control the mood is to remove options. You eliminate rebellion before it forms. You freeze doubt before it speaks. You guide action before it is even considered. This is why public speakers rehearse not just their words, but their tone. Why interrogators study not only questions, but silences. Why leaders are trained to manage not just policy, but perception. The atmosphere you create becomes the invisible prison or sanctuary in which others must operate. Even your enemies can be tamed this way. Make them angry too quickly, and they will expose themselves. Keep them calm while you maneuver, and they won't notice the trap being built around them. If you wish to destroy someone, remove their emotional footing. Mock what they take seriously. Laugh when they try to intimidate. Remain silent when they expect an outburst. Their emotions will flail, and you will watch as they try to gain control over a mood that no longer belongs to them. You do not need to be the smartest in the room if you are the one shaping its emotional temperature. He who creates the atmosphere creates the outcome. While others waste time debating facts, the strategist commands the setting in which facts are interpreted. And once the emotional climate bends to your hand, the minds within it follow without resistance. Guilt is the most elegant chain ever forged. It does not bind the body, it binds the will. It shackles thought, dampens ambition, and poisons decision, making under the illusion of morality. The strategist knows that guilt is not a virtue, but a weapon. Sometimes it is wielded by others to keep you docile. Other times it is self-imposed, a phantom of past mistakes that whispers in your ear every time you are about to act with clarity. The man who is still negotiating with guilt cannot lead. He explains instead of executes. He asks permission from ghosts. He builds his power on sand, always afraid it might collapse beneath the weight of judgment. Guilt turns lions into lambs. It infects every layer of dominance. A guilty mind hesitates where it should strike. It doubts where it should move. It offers apologies when silence would conquer. Guilt makes you weak without making you kind. It convinces you that your power must be justified, your success excused, your discipline softened so others are not offended. It teaches you to dim your flame so others do not feel cold in your presence. The strategist sees through this illusion. He knows that to carry guilt is to carry your own leash and worse, to offer it to others. Look closely, and you will see how guilt is engineered. It is built into systems of family, religion, tradition, and public opinion. You are told who to be loyal to, what to feel ashamed of, how to measure your goodness, not by your strength, but by your submission. They call it conscience, but it is often just inherited control. You are made to feel guilty for wanting more, for walking alone, for severing ties that no longer serve your purpose. They tell you that to be ruthless is to be wrong, even if your ruthlessness was born from betrayal. That to protect yourself is selfish, even when others have fed on your weakness like wolves. But guilt does not belong to the strategist. He has trained his mind to weigh only outcome, not approval. He does not measure his worth by emotional debt. If a decision must be made to secure dominance, to defend the mission, to remove a liability, he does it and walks away without looking back. Not because he is unfeeling, but because he knows every moment spent negotiating with guilt is a moment lost in the war for control. To feel guilt is to serve two masters, your goal and your regret. The strategist serves only one. Others will try to guilt you into compliance. They will remind you of all they've done for you, how they stood by you, how they sacrificed. But understand this: past sacrifice does not justify current weakness. If they now obstruct your path, they must be moved. To hesitate out of guilt is to betray the future for the sake of the past. The strategist does not ignore history, but he does not live in it. He extracts what is useful, discards what is sentimental, and keeps moving. The act of cutting guilt is not an abandonment of feeling. It is an assertion of hierarchy. Your mission comes first. Your vision outranks their comfort. Your survival takes precedence over their expectation. You must speak when silence is expected. You must walk away when tradition says stay. You must rise when they wanted you small, and when they react with disapproval, you must not explain, apologize, or shrink. You must let their noise echo in the distance while you advance in silence. True freedom begins where guilt ends. Until you sever it, every decision will be second-guessed, every victory will be dimmed, every enemy will have leverage. But once it is gone, once you no longer feel the need to seek forgiveness for your rise, then your steps become lighter, your speech sharper, your actions unbound. Guilt is the final residue of emotional slavery, and the strategist burns it off like dead skin, not to become cruel, but to become clear. Not to destroy others, but to cease destroying himself. Because a guilty man can be manipulated by anyone with a sad story and a trembling voice. A strategist bows to neither. He walks forward unchained. Empathy is a seductive weakness. It disguises itself as wisdom, disguises itself as humanity, disguises itself as nobility. And yet, in the hands of those who have no discipline, it becomes a poison that kills power quietly. The strategist does not eliminate empathy. He imprisons it. He understands that it is dangerous only when allowed to lead. Empathy, if unchecked, becomes a rope that ties your fate to the misfortunes of others. It makes you hesitate where you should strike, comfort when you should cut, and bend where you should break. It whispers, "Be kind," even when kindness will cost you the throne. It demands that you feel their pain, even as they sharpen the knife behind your back. There is no cruelty in self-preservation. The strategist does not live to soothe the world. He lives to master it. And mastery requires the rejection of emotional equality. Not every tear deserves your attention. Not every struggle deserves your sacrifice. There are those who will use their weakness as a weapon, who will trade on your conscience as if it were currency. They will pull on your empathy like reins, guiding your behavior to benefit them, never you. The moment you act from guilt rather than strategy, you've handed them control. The moment you prioritize emotional comfort over tactical advantage, you've become a puppet, and puppets don't win. You must understand that the people who cry for empathy are often the same who would not hesitate to take your place, your power, or your peace. Their suffering is not always sincere. Their apologies are not always honest. And even when they are, your responsibility is not to their emotions. It is to your outcome. You cannot lead with a heart that bleeds every time someone stumbles. You cannot dominate if you flinch at every cry. Empathy must remain in your arsenal, not in your command center. It must inform your understanding, but never decide your action. The strategist studies empathy the way a general studies terrain. He sees where it gives him advantage, when to show warmth to win trust, when to display understanding to open closed hearts, when to mirror emotion to calm a crowd. But he never drowns in it. He never lets it change the plan. Empathy can be used as a disguise, as a trap, as a tool of persuasion. But the moment it dictates strategy, the mission begins to rot. Empathy must never outweigh advantage. There will be moments when the people you care for stand in the way of your progress, when their emotional needs contradict your tactical path, when their comfort demands your silence, your stagnation, your delay. In these moments, you must choose. Choose the throne or the dinner table. Choose the mission or the memory. Choose your future or their feelings. And if you choose them, know this: they will not do the same for you. When their moment comes, when their power is on the line, they will not bleed for your name. The strategist does not expect loyalty from those who preach empathy. He expects need, and need is temporary. Power is eternal. The world rewards the cold-hearted not because they are evil, but because they are clear. Clarity is rare. Clarity is feared. Clarity sees emotion, processes it, and still chooses what is necessary. Empathy clouds the path with fog, advantage clears it with fire. The strategist walks through others' tears without absorbing them. He understands their pain, but does not wear it. He hears their stories, but does not rewrite his script for them. He can feel deeply, but he moves coldly. Because to rise in a world of manipulators, you must become immune to emotional bribery. You must feel, but not fold. Empathy is a gift, but in the wrong moment it is a curse. Use it as a mirror, never as a compass. Let it reveal truths, not dictate movement. The strategist does not kill his empathy. He keeps it locked in a vault, visits it rarely, and never lets it touch the wheel. Because those who lead with empathy often find themselves led into ruin by those who don't. And those who survive the longest, who shape the world instead of serving it, are the ones who learned that mercy is only power when given from a position of strength, not weakness. In the arena of power, it is not the loudest voice or the kindest heart that prevails. It is the mind that governs emotion without apology. The strategist does not seek comfort, he seeks control. He understands that to master others, he must first master himself. His rage, his sorrow, his guilt, and his empathy, these are not qualities to be eradicated, but tools to be sharpened and locked behind discipline. While others spill their feelings like wine at a feast, hoping for acceptance, he calculates in silence, shaping perception, bending atmospheres, and striking only when advantage is guaranteed. To think like a true strategist is to see the battlefield behind every conversation, the weakness behind every smile, and the leverage behind every tear. It is to abandon the need to be understood in favor of being obeyed. It is to stop asking for emotional equality in a world built on hierarchy. The world is moved by emotion, but ruled by those who control it. And those who learn to harness the fire without being burned by it, they do not simply survive, they dominate,